All righty. I'm back. As soon as okay, this is okay. I'm back. I know a lot of people had to leave, so they might not come back, but I'm back live again. So I didn't get a chance to see all the chat. So I think we were, But anyhow, let me tell you what happened. We got a storm coming, and the internet went down, and it just came back up. So I had to reboot the modem and the I had to reboot the modem and the router. And I guess we got thunderstorms coming in about an hour or so. So hopefully everyone that was tuned in will come back. I hope they'll see that I'm back live. So I'll give it a few minutes. If everyone doesn't come back, I kind of understand, and I'll just post a video on what happened. So right now, uh, we'll see if anyhow, I didn't get a chance to finish what I was talking about because it froze up because the internet went down. So, I mean, okay, EA, welcome back. I don't know if you were in the live. I don't know if you were in the live chat earlier, but back EA. Nice to see you again. Welcome back. Thanks EA. We'll see who else comes back. Um, I had quite a few people on here, but they, like I said, the internet was interrupted. We got a storm coming. But I was talking about audio engineering school and do you need to go? And so I'm going to continue to talk about that as far as audio engineering school and do you need to go? So it's kind of like this. What are the something I was talking about the console. So if you go to an audio engineering school, other than like what I was saying earlier in the chat earlier is like, do I need to spend $25,000 to $30,000 a year to learn how to put a microphone on a cabinet? Or do I need to spend $25,000, $30,000 to learn a console that 90% of the time I'll never work on again? Most of us are not going to have an SSL console in our house. Some people will, but most people will not. So it's kind of like, okay, what are the 4 basic pieces of gear in a recording studio? Most of the time, it's a preamp, a compressor. It's going to be a preamp, compressor, EQ, some sort of effect processor like a reverb or delay. Other than that, when you see all these racks, you see racks of the same piece of gears, just a different company and a different style, but they're basically, like a rack of compressors. They all generally do the same thing, but maybe in a little different way. I don't think you need to spend $25,000. If you learn one compressor and how a compressor works, you've learned them all. Then it's just knowing how to, how to employ it. I know this compressor works good on guitars. I know this compressor works good on I know this compressor works good on drums. I know this compressor works good on this microphone, or I know this vocalist or whatever. I don't think you need to spend $25,000 a year to learn that. And I think the best way anyone can learn is just by doing it. I started working in a recording studio in '94. I've been doing this off and on for almost 30 years. So it's kind of like, but I didn't go I took some classes and some courses, but I never went to an actual audio engineering school. Let me see. EA said, I got a job at a commercial studio and worked my way up to assistant engineer. No school, just a strong desire and an interest. I've been at it for 20 plus years now. So I guarantee, I bet most of the people that's been doing like as long as you have, as long as we have, we're going to know 10 times more. And it, since you're, right now I got you on here, you've been working in a commercial studio for 20 years. You think about this. You got a brand new person that said they came from Full Sail. They know what an LA2A compressor is. They know what 1176. They know what a distressor. They know what Pultex. They know the basic gear. They got to implement a little bit. They know an SSL. They know how to route on an SSL console. They know the bus, the groups at the top. They know how to, hit the flip button to go between line and mic, or sometimes hit subgroup or whatever. They know how to use a small fader. They know how to route on the patch bay. All that. They know how to use it. They know how to implement the gate. They know how to hit the float, or they know what absolute mean, or they know what VCA faders are and how to set up VCAs and turn the number up right here by the fader. They know all this, right? Here's my magic number one question. You got Beyonce scheduled to come in. Beyonce is paying your studio $100,000 to book the studio for the next 3 to 4 weeks to work on her next album. $100,000, right? Are you gonna let that person Full Sail engineer Beyonce, and they're brand new? And would you? That's my question. I'm gonna tell you right now, if I had a person that was brand new from Full Sail, it could be any audio engineering school. They could be from Blackbird. And let's say I had, even in my studio, and this client is paying me $100,000 to record their next album in my studio, I'm going to do it. I've been doing this for recording for 30 years. I'm not letting someone brand new out of school do it. And like you said, he got to work. He got a job at a commercial studio, but he had to work his way up to assistant engineer. Had to work his way. I guarantee you didn't start engineering. Most people that start at commercial studios, we got a session coming. They might let you pull out a few XLR cables and hook up a couple of the power supplies to maybe a microphone. They might let you do that. That is part as far as it's going. Other than that, we're kind of starving. Why don't you run down to we all need burgers. Run down to the, McDonald's down the street. Hey, go get us all some burgers. That's usually how you start. And I'm the same way. I didn't start off as the mixing engineer. The guy my friend of mine, his name was Grover. He was doing all the mixing. I was just recording the music. As far as mixing, I wasn't doing that when I first started in that studio, because I had no idea I didn't know how to set up. I didn't really know how to do the EQ, or how to really set the compressor, how to really set the ratios and all. I didn't know. All I saw was, I knew a compressor had threshold, attack, release, and makeup gain, stuff like that. I knew that, but I didn't know how to set attack and release and threshold and the ratio. I didn't know, because I didn't know, I didn't know. So let's see. The next comment says, is getting the opportunities to have a long time with the gear and the ability to experiment with the gear with no one telling you what you can and can't do. That's how you discover new ideas. It's funny that you mentioned that. I was one of the delays I was messing with the Roland 330. It was a delay. All I was doing is going through different delay functions. When I record these vocals on this artist, I was going through different delays to see how it would make her vocals sound with this delay on it. Just experimenting. I like that. I like how, got the nah. It would do that. I'm like, oh. Then I would go to the board and say, let me see if I like the way it made that her vocals go la, 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 la. So I went over there, hit the pan and made it go la, 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 to the right, la, 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 to the left. And I just hit the pan button. I said, that's a pretty cool effect. And that's what I would do. I would experiment with that, or I would have these reverb settings on the reverb unit and let me change the decay time a little bit. Or let me change the pre-delay just to see what it does. That's what I did too. That's what and I remember that. We got ghost users here. We had a lot of other people that was here earlier, but the internet got cut off. So I had to reboot the live feed. So, and I was trying to go back live again, but I think because I named it the same thing, I think YouTube was trying to overwrite the old one. So I had to back off and re-change the name. So if you're wondering that, I was live earlier. Like I said, I got internet cut off. But anyhow, so Ghost User says a lot of smaller studios in LA will let you run a session as long as you are somewhat competent. A friend of mine was just an intern, but because the rappers liked him and he smoked trees, he was in. That's funny. Believe it or not, that's what happened to how Bob Clearmountain got started. They needed an engineer. He's at, I think it was the power station. It wasn't called the power station at the time. And they needed an engineer. He just started experimenting. He had somebody how to get them recorded. And he just started pulling up faders and plugging in gear and see how, and there was a group called Chic, same group that Shriek Out. He was that engineer, brand new. They loved how it sounded, and boom, the rest is history. So sometimes that's how it happens. Let me see. Read the next comment. A lot of things people underestimate is the relationship factor. If you're an artist like you, then they might demand you you are involved in the session. That friend was not technical, just a good listener. And this is something that is probably overlooked because you can have an arrogant engineer and the artist may not like them. They just, the way they engineer, the artist may, or the producer. And the engineer may be like, I just don't like him. But the intern or the assistant might have a better rapport. Let's say it could be one of the point where, let's say the artist, the engineer came in there and they was trying to, you're on the clock. Okay, we're ready to go. And let's say the engineer didn't pick up on the clue that the artist like, look, we just came in, we flew, we're kind of tired. We just want to get something to eat or whatever. And let's say the assistant read that clue. Hey, are y'all thirsty or whatever? Let me get you something to drink. And the artist be like, thank you. Sometimes that's what it takes. Can you do the session? Sometimes that's what it takes. You just never know. But relationship, because a lot of times you can have a studio with all the best gear, but if they don't like the people in it, they're not coming back. No matter what, you can have the top of the line, all the best gear in the world and be like, man, I love my Neve VR console with my Pultex and my, whatever. But they might not like you. I'm something about that studio. Let me see. EA says, I was invited originally as a studio drummer for 2 bands. Once I got in, became friends with as many people as possible. Eventually, they asked me if I would like to work with them as an apprentice. That happens. Another thing that, I made to think about commercial studios versus home studios. One of the good things about a home studio is networking and collaborating, because you never know who you can meet. Sometimes these artists meet each other just because they were happen to be booked at the same studio, and they exchange numbers to work with each other. So that happens too. You just never know. Let me see another code. Ghost User says, if you are cool, you get opportunities that much more talented individuals miss out on just due to ego. Like I said before, you got some people. I'll use, for example, I'll put, and I'm not picking on the guy. I'll use 2 examples. Okay, there's Ocean Way on Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles. And then there's East West. They're literally like next door to each other, right? One's like 6,000, and the other one's like 6,010 or 20. They're literally parking lot across from each other. One's called Ocean Way, one's called East West. And let's say the guy, I was watching the interview. I was watching this interview with East West. It's an early interview. And the guy looked like he had kind of like a broken nose, but the way he was doing that interview made him seem a little, I hate to use the word bougie, And I don't know, it's because of the fact that maybe some high clients have been there, and it's kind of like, well, Frank Sinatra recorded here, and we've had it was that kind of demeanor. Sometimes you can be like, as great as the facility this is, then let's say you go over to Island Sides studio. Island Sides used to own Ocean Way. United/Ocean Way. Island Sides used to own that one. You go over to Ocean Way, and let's say the people over there are a little bit more, they have better rapport. A lot of times I don't want to book East West. I'm gonna go over here to Ocean Way. I can go over here to Ocean Way. So let me see. Jay Production says East West was the original Ocean Way studio. You got to look at the history of it. They used to be, I forget the name of it, before East West and all that, they used to be grocery stores in the 40s or whatever. Then it became a radio place and so forth. Ocean Way used to own both, from my understanding. And then one guy bought East West, and one person bought Ocean Way. And then Island Sides eventually bought the Ocean Way side. I think it was called something else before he called it Ocean Way. Island Sides bought it. Because Island Side used to work out of his garage and build speakers and stuff like that. But that's why he's into his speakers. That's his biggest seller now. So East West became East West, and Ocean Way became Ocean Way. That's why if you look at their live room looks pretty similar to each other. That's to understand. I have to go back and watch the Ocean Way and East West videos again. Western Recording, you say, yeah, originally United Western Recordings, so they were one, yeah, they split. That's what I'm pretty sure it was. But they're literally next door. That's why they're next door to each other. Then they became East West, and that's why one was called East. I don't hit the microphone. That's probably one was called East, and the other side was West, because they're, East West. That probably makes sense why they changed to East West. But anyhow, let me see. Let me go back to see Jay Production says Sweet Streams back. Yeah, back up. Yeah, I'm back up. It was for those that are coming back like Jay coming back, we got a storm coming. So the internet might go down again. Hopefully it don't. But the internet went down. So I had to reboot the modem and the router and reboot the computer to get it, because it locked up because the internet went out. So I just rebooted everything, and now I'm back up. So that's what happened. So I think Man That Work's like, I hope you didn't run out of memory. Okay, Man, he's back. I was just about mentioning Man That Work. Okay, welcome back, man. He's like, I hope you didn't run out of memory. No, I got plenty of memories, not the computer. It was the actual internet. We got a storm coming, so they might be messing with the internet. So we're talking about studios now. I was talking about in the earlier stream about audio engineering school and do you need it? So let me see, go back to East West. Okay, it says the guy that mastered Chronic 2001 was one of the lower tier guys at that award-winning studio. Dr. Dre chose him because he listened to the clients. The owner who won awards was too perfection. Yeah, Island Sides. Island Sides is, I've watched Island Sides. And, to be a perfectionist, I get it. Because if you've ever been to Ocean Way, I got to go in there. They have several, they got several control rooms. And, they have an API in one room, an SSL. They got a Neve. They got an actual Focusrite. In those control rooms, I didn't get a chance to go in one with the API or the Focusrite because they were closed sessions. I got the peeping. The SSL one was not being used. But the when I go to these studios like that, when you're visiting or whatever, when you go to these studios, one of the things I always notice, I take notice of the gear that they got in the racks. I'm not worried about the patch bay because all patch bays work the same. So I wasn't worried about the patch, and of course the console. I was see with console. I'm not really too concerned because everyone uses pretty much the same ubiquitous microphones: 47s, M60s, 50s, 40s, Royal 121s, RCA ribbons, and stuff like that. You know, the U87s, the 67s, you know, Telefunken 251. Everyone uses the same sort of mic. There might be some niche microphones, but these are the most common ones. So I don't really look at the mic locker. Most of the time I'm looking at the rack gear because that's the stuff that you're implementing the patch with, that you're mixing to the console to get the sound. So I'm looking. Oh yeah, they got a Fairchild 670. Yeah, can't afford one of them. And oh yeah, they got some distressors. Yeah, I can afford some distressors. Those are usually about 1,100. Yeah, I got some. Oh yeah, I see he's got some. You know, other than that, they usually have the same ubiquitous UA 1176s, LA 2As. You know, they'll have the, you know, maybe some overstayers or some Summit audio. Maybe you know, the Eventide H3000 and AMS delay, stuff like that. A lot of the ubiquitous gear. Let me go back to, let me read some more. So let me see. Do people hire you for sessions at your studio? My studio is not open. If you're asking me, do people hire me? I've worked with private individual clients here. I'm not really open because it's a house, and I got this stigma about being an open studio in a house. So my studio, I work with requested individual clients that I know, if that makes sense. But no, I'm not really fully open, if that makes sense. So let me see. One of my favorite YouTuber, Andrew Masters, was a East-West guy. Really, people coming out of those places, but some douche. You know, the funny thing is, when I got to visit Ocean Wing one time, and it was a lot of people from a lot of the like LA recording school. A lot of people were in there, and so I got on that tour, even though I wasn't from any of those schools, because I'm not from LA. A lot of the people that worked in there, like Jack Puick, and those kind of engineers, none of those people were there. None of the people I've seen. Some of those engineers and assistants, I didn't know any of them. You know, I didn't even see Alan Sides. When I went there, it was just a lot of guys and girls that were setting up. Like I said, the studio that had the control room that had the Focusrite, and the control that had the API, those were closed. I don't know who. It just said closed session. You couldn't go in there. I don't know who had it booked. That's all I can remember. But that was probably years ago. Okay. Let me see. So, but you know, here's the thing, and I can understand, going back to what you're saying about some could be douchebag, because it's kind of like sometimes people can get an ego because they got to work in a studio like that. I can see how they can have an ego. You know, yeah, I worked at East West. So they can, you know, it's kind of like, you know, so let's say you go down, let's say you don't ever get an opportunity to go to another studio like East West, and let's say you move to Texas and work in, you know, some recording studios in Texas, like Austin or Dallas or whatever the case, or it don't matter, because most states, almost every state major has some sort of commercial studio in it. They gonna look at you like, okay. So some studios be like, yeah, okay, well, you know, it just depends on the studio. But someone comes in there, they come off as being arrogant because they worked at a major studio. I don't think I would want to work with them, because they're gonna think they know better. They're gonna think they're better than you. You know, and I'm like, no, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been recording for 30 years. So let me see. Andrew Mass, yeah, I watch some of his stuff from time to time. He's actually out of Nashville. There's quite a lot of those YouTube channels and studio tours. A lot of those are Nashville guys. Man, I got rid of my Fairchild. It blew through tubes constantly, and it was just a headache. You know, and you think about this, I'm gonna go back to that Fairchild. Me being an electronics guy, because that's what I was avionics guy in the Army. I worked on Apache helicopters. 13 out of my 24 years in the Army was in the aviation. And if there was blowing tubes, you got to think something was shorting in there. And I know that those Fairchilds, those are old style, older compressors. A lot of times it's a patience with trying to figure out what's shorting to cause it to blow. Sometimes it could be just heat. It could be other factors. One of the worst problems in most electronics, you remember a tube are used for signal, and they're also used for switches. And tubes require a lot of voltage. So if you think about if it requires a lot of voltage, how hot it could be coming from the transformer, it could be coming from a capacitor or something, whatever the case on that. But Fairchild, I guarantee, I don't know what you sold your Fairchild to, but even a broken Fairchild is still to buy. Everyone here probably a nice used car. That's how much those things cost. They are like, they're like the Rolls Royce of compressors. They're like the Bentleys. To me, I don't have a Fairchild. I don't need a Fairchild, but there are some people that swear by them. To me personally, don't see the hype, but that's, but there are a lot of people say that is the best compressor on the earth. I think that's subjective, but anyhow. So Jay says, walking into a big budget studio and see a Fairchild, you all got money. I'm like this. If I walk into a studio, not even looking at the Fairchild, if I walk in there and they even got a vintage Neve, let's say it's an 8078 vintage Neve console, you got money. It's just what it is. A lot of times it's, it don't even got to look at the outboard gear. If I see you got a rack of UA1176s and a rack of LA2As and Pultecs, and, you got, Tube Techs and Chandler Limited, you got money. You don't even have to have a Fairchild. I start seeing your Mind Locker and you got $20,000 Telefunkens and $10,000 Sony AG 800Gs or whatever. Yeah, you got money. I'm looking at your preamps. Oh yeah, he's got 24 Neve 1073 preamps in a rack, 24 of them, whatever. Yeah, you're balling. That's big money in that rack. Let me see. Having a commercial studio be your home is weird. It's funny of having a commercial studio. They sold it. If you ever get a chance to go on YouTube and search Nashville Commercial Studios, I believe it's still there. I'm not sure. There's this home. It looks like a regular standard 2-story home until you go but the commercial studio and the live room is in the basement. This is probably a person like me that for the gear I got in here, to have a commercial studio like that in my basement where I got a control room and a live room like that is probably the dream. I would love to have my house like that. You can Google it's like a Nashville recording studio home. It'll come up. The control room and the live room, that was like, it blew me away. So let me see. Studios like Blackbird, East West, and Oshway always have interns from the recording schools. I assume there's a long-standing partner. When you think about Blackbird, part of his business is a school. So naturally, if he was going to hire employees for his studio portion, he's getting it from his own school. That's without a doubt. John McBride, he's gonna, if he needed an engineer, the first thing I guarantee he'll hire someone that came from his school before he gets someone from Full Sail or any other school, LA Recording School or whatever. If you went to Blackbird, he's going to get you because he taught you or his school taught you. So yeah, that's kind of like a no-brainer on that one. But East West Oceanway, they always get their from, they have a partnership with like schools like LA Recording School or they have a business partnership. A lot of times, this is when you can actually get into schools. They say, they went to my school. Part of that cut will go to that studio to work for that. Yeah, that's when studios did that. They're not really doing that anymore. But he said, I sold my Fairchild for $60K. See what I'm saying? $60K. That's a nice C7 Corvette. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, there you go. But the thing is, $60K for, you can equip a couple of people. You can equip a couple of nice home recording studios. Take $30K each, and they all can fully equip their home recording studio for $60K, for $30K, and build two of them for the price of that Fairchild. Let's see. Ghost User says, could dirty power sources blow tubes? Especially tiny. Yes, when they wire a commercial studio, a lot of your conventional stuff that would be like the stuff that runs microwaves, refrigerators, TVs, regular appliances, stuff like that. Well, commercial studios, they usually have a separate power. There's outlets designed especially for the gear. They also have a star ground system. A lot of that star ground system, they have a centralized ground system in the racks, the console, and all that's going to a ground system, usually in the ground. They have a specialized ground and they have a specialized power. That's why a lot of times they want you to get power stabilizers for your gear. So that way you'll stabilize the power. That's one of the key things. That's probably another thing that isn't talked about. Your 90% of most homes are not designed to run they're not for studios. They're not. So you're going to have issues like my house wasn't designed for all this gear. It isn't. So I've been like I said, a lot of this is just luck. I don't have any power issues. Plus the power over here, our power for where I'm at runs underground. I feel bad for some of the people because they still have power lines that knock out power or whatever. But yeah, it's the next thing to see. Jay Production, walk into studio and see barefoot micromains, the white ones. Oh, that's 2 used cars. Yeah. Imagine some of those Aspergers that you see in the wall, or those Dyne Audios or the PMC audio speakers. I'm talking about the Farfields. Or some of them Westlake, some of them are, think about a pair of ATCs 45s. How much those cost? Studio monitors, ATCs, the speakers like that, some of the more expensive Focals or more expensive Barefoots or Genelecs or whatever. Some of them, the price of some of those speakers is like astronomical. And just think about when an SSL or Neve console or an API legacy, I mean, the SSL duality, a brand new SSL duality console, let's say 72 channels, $1.5 million. That's the price of a Bugatti Veyron, right? 1.5 million costs more than my house. I can buy 10 of the houses. Well, no, I can't. Not with the housing market today. 1.5 million, I can only buy 5 of my houses now. I could buy 12 of them when I first bought this house. But yeah, think about that. And here's another thing. We're talking about the gear, right? The speakers, the monitors, the console, the outboard gear. Imagine how much it costs to build that room. We're talking about a floating room. They're floating rooms. To make them floating rooms, to build them and the isolation rooms and all that. And then on top of that, imagine how much it costs for the wiring. The wiring is probably in excess of $200,000 in wiring. And that's just if you have probably a well-equipped live room and control room. Imagine if you have multiple. I can't even imagine how much Blackbird has spent. If you ever watched the Blackbird studio tour, he's got 9 control rooms and live rooms. His storage room is like the amount of gear he's got in those storage rooms. Just, I'm like, this dude's got like 25 to 30 Pultecs just in a row. 25 of this, 30 of this. It's just astronomical the amount of gear and microphones this guy has. He rents a lot of that stuff out, but I'm like, I just can't imagine. He's probably sitting on $100 million worth of everything. His studio and everything is probably $100 million, that facility. Martina McBride must have sold. She must have been selling some records. That's all I can say. Let me see. I've talked so much. I missed some more comments. Let me see. Andrew toured a few, but they're not really owners' homes. It's just a home with a commercial. Yes, yeah. I've seen some of them. Okay, laid back beats composed. What are your plans with your music and studio in your retirement days? Okay, music wise, it really depends on what artist I'm going to work with. So I'm basically depending on what artist I might work with. As far as the studio, I'm up in the air between opening up because it's my home, and the way my house is designed. This is upstairs, and I really want to move in a different house. I'm just waiting for the housing market to change so I can purposely look for a new home. I want my studio to be on the first floor and have a separate entrance. And I want to have a privacy area where I can have clients come just into the studio, not walking through my house, things like that. So that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm kind of like, so right now I'm just building it just to do my own personal stuff, if that makes sense. I know that sounds kind of like some people, that's crazy, all the stuff you got in your house. And yeah, I get it. So, let's see. Jay says my studio is a home studio, but the section of the building is on a whole secondary grid. Like I said, this is just a regular 2-story house for me. So, Kern Scott, welcome. Kern Scott, welcome. Says after making great compressor for years, DBX is now making trash comps. That 2.6 I know. I had some of those. I had to get rid of them. Is noisy, laid-back character and clamps too much. Replacing with 160A, that thing sounds like Go in my. Okay, yeah, it's got the 160, the original 160A. You got to think about those 160s and all that. A lot of engineers like to use those 160s on drums and bass, but it's another holy grail compressor like the 1176. And the LA2As and the Fairchilds. There's certain compressors that every engineer likes. So, like I said, I had some 266. I got a 166. I like my 166, but I got another DBX that's just, it don't work. So let me see. He said all those Osbergers are brand new. Yeah. A lot of those $100,000 built, you see them in the walls, $100,000 speakers, it is what it is. Manover says, I built my commercial studio for $250K 12 years ago. The same studio today would be almost $2 million. Yeah. And maybe more. And it's inflation. It's like you think about everything that you could do 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago. um, you can't get away with today. Is just, I look at it, you know, gallon of milk and a box of Captain Crunch is $25,000. No, I'm joking. Now it's kind of like when I went through a McDonald's. Went to McDonald's to get me their, the crispy chicken sandwich, fries and a drink. The average price of going to fast food now is the cost of what it used to go to, like like maybe Applebee's, or going to like Texas Roadhouse or whatever. The cost of fast food is almost the cost of going to one of those kind of restaurants. So imagine what it costs to go to those restaurants today. Fast food, you used to be able to get a Big Mac, a medium fry, and a drink for like $4.99. Now it's like it's over double the price. That's how greedy. It's the same hamburger. I used to work at McDonald's in '88, right? I used to work at McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's for about 9 months. Big Macs in the '80s was, I don't know, if I remember correctly, a Big Mac was about $1.99 for a Big Mac. Quarter pounder, was like $1.89, right? You can get a full meal for $3.50, $4 for a full meal in the '80s. It's the same ingredients. It's the same ingredients. The filet of fish is the same way it is today, like I was making them back in '88, right? It's the same. But now the cost of filet of fish is the cost of a whole meal. That is crazy how everything's greedy. You can't justify to me, you just can't justify the price of stuff today. You really can't. I think this is why everyone's turned to plugins and clones, including myself, because everything's so expensive. And I'm like, if I could get a clone and get the same results, I'm just going to go with the clone. That's just my thoughts on it. But anyhow, let me go back to some more comments. Let's see. Let me see. I have no retirement plans. It's going to be from the studio to the grave. That's like me. I mean, I've been retired from the Army. I retired in 2013. I did go to college to get my cybersecurity degree, and then I started working for a little bit. But yeah, I've been now, this is my main concentration. I just don't know, what the plans are, but we'll see. Ghost user says brands now have a whole different lineup for consumers versus pro. I got a Core Nano Key Studio MIDI controller, and comparing it to the real Core synth, it's like a Fisher Price quality. Okay. Let me see. Next, I'll say one of these days, Mark is going to partner up with me so we can open up a second commercial studio. Come on down, man. I just, if you pay for the building, no, I'll be glad to move this gear in that building. I did a couple of videos on, is it worth opening the commercial studio? It's kind of like, here in Tennessee, Sony, the country and Western scene is still busy. So you can still, they're booked, they stay busy. So here in Tennessee would be, I can opening up a commercial studio would be beneficial. Now, a lot of other places, more people are doing more stuff more at home. So let me see. It said, Current said, man, Harman did DBX wrong, not making the flagship products anymore. It's kind of like who was the company that bought Musicians Friends / Guitar Center? Because I know another company, it's like, I think Fender bought Presonus. Gibson pretty much killed Cakewalk as a dog company. Sometimes when these companies are bought out and they become corporalized, they kills. It's like another company, some corporation bought Sweetwater. Luckily, Sweetwater hasn't. Luckily, they're still going, but you gotta be careful when these companies. It's kind of like when corporations bought record companies. Even though record companies needed to be, they were doing their practices was killing artists. Let me see. Let's see. Oh, J Production. I want to build a second story at my home with a side interest and loft. Keep the studio separate from the home is key. That's the thing. That's why I really know, because in my studio, you still got to come through my house to get here. And that's why I'm not comfortable with that. I do have a smaller setup. People, if you watch I do have a smaller setup in my front room, but you still got to come in my house. My front room has a smaller setup, and the kitchen's right there, but the bathroom. But I still would feel more comfortable, even if I brought someone to be in the downstairs, so I can, they can go right out the front door. I'm being funny. It really depends on how comfortable I feel with someone. If I even bring them up here to up here, because I have a really good client. I rather work with them in here, but I just have to judge it. But sometimes even you could be misjudged. Sometimes some people can turn out to be legitimate client when they turn out not to be. I've had a bad experience with some people that came from out of town, and it just wasn't a good experience. But okay, let me see. Kevin, welcome, Kevin. A YouTuber said he connected his sampler to his console, but uses an additional 500 series preamp on each channel to further improve the sound. Is he talking about using the channel outputs into the pre? That I don't know. It depends on how he has it hooked up. Usually, if he a lot of times it sounds like he's trying to go through the 500 series preamps. I don't know if he's using API preamps or CAPI preamps or whatever preamps he's using 500 series. I don't know what he's using, but it sounds like he's trying to get the color of those preamps for his sampler. And you're saying the 500 series on each channel. I mean, it depends on how many channels he's running, what kind of console, and how many channels. That would be a lot of, like, I got 48 channels. That would be 48 preamps. But I'm like, why would I do that? I do have a lot of preamps. I do have quite a few. But I don't have 48 external preamps, because the console's got preamps in it. So it's kind of like, he doesn't like this console's preamps? I don't know. Depends on how he had it hooked up. But a lot of times you don't even need to use the consoles. You don't even have to go into the console. You can go directly from the preamp into the interface to record, because that's usually what you use. A lot of times that's what you're using to get the color of the preamp of the console. You're also getting the electronics from the op amps and circuits as well through the channel. But okay, let me let's see. J Production in 2002 in Jamaica, my current studio costs like 1.5 million Jamaican dollars. Now it's dang near 3 million after doing the price. Yeah, it's inflation's everywhere. Inflation not only in the United States, it affects Europe, South America, Japan, Korea, doesn't matter. Inflation is inflation, because really, if you think about basic economics, all about supply and demand. If you don't have enough supply and it's in demand, they're going to charge more for it. But if you have excess amount of supply and no demand, the price is going to plummet. It's kind of like luxury cars. Luxury cars on demand, but then after they've been around 3 or 4 years, that's why you can buy a Jag for $80,000. That same Jag 5 years from now would only be $30,000. That's just, So, let me see. Jay, how much different now as the home studio has rising heavy? The thing is, to build a commercial studio, the cost is still more to build a commercial studio But the thing is, you can save yourself money and cost. Let's say, for example, let's say the building itself, you still got to build the control room, which is going to be a floating room. You still got to build a live room. Hopefully you have at least a 2-story with tall enough ceilings. You got to get the acoustic treatment for that live room. You got to do all the wiring, building all the patch panels, the tie lines. All the wiring is still $20, $30, $40, $50,000 in cabling, because you still got the labor to have it wired, unless you want to do it yourself. You got to wire up the control room. Then you got to have your far fields like Osberger's or PMC Audio or Dyne Audio, whatever you're going to use, West Lakes or whatever, Ocean Ways or whatever you're going to use for your far fields, whatever you're going to use for near fields or whatever. Even if you spent all that, you can probably, there are Neve like VRs. I've seen some used Neve VR consoles. I've seen some SSL consoles. I've seen them as cheap as $30,000 on Vintage King. But you still have to spend probably another $20,000, $30,000 getting it commissioned. You can save yourself, because that same SSL console would have ran you $500,000 20 years ago. But the thing is, if you can get it commissioned, because you might not be able to get parts for it. Some people go with, like Amex or some of the MCI consoles, whatever, because those are easy to get up easier. Let's say they don't have some of the transformers. You can get Jensen transformers. You can always, but a lot of times it takes a long 3 to 6 months to a year before you're up and running if you do it right. So it really depends. Then there are smaller format. There are smaller format consoles. You don't always have to go with large one. You can go like an SSL XL desk. But some people like me, who's a traditionalist, I'm a traditionalist. I like large consoles. They weigh 1,000,000 pounds. Yeah, I got to put you got to run HVAC, because those consoles put out some heat. You got to put the power supplies in another room. But it's eye candy. It's psychological with me. That's just me. I would rather have a Neve VR console in there. It's probably why I got this 48 channel Allen Heath in here. It's eye candy. I don't need this console in here. I can go with a smaller it's a gas psychological thing with me. I'm kind of old school in that fashion. I'm a traditionalist when it comes to commercial studio setups. Let me go back to some more comments. Sometimes these come. Let me see. Oh, Guitar Center did acquire musicians' friends. Also, Cakewalk was brought back by BandLab and Cakewalk Pro. Yeah, it's saying what I'm saying is Gibson, because Roland. That's why if you look at the TTS, the sounds in the TTS and Cakewalk, I'm a Cakewalk. I still use Cakewalk. So the sounds of the TTS is basically the Roland Phantom sounds verbatim, because Roland was dealing with, and then Gibson. But what I'm saying is, when I say Gibson killed Cakewalk, is Cakewalk used to be Cakewalk Professional, and they didn't want to keep investing to keep Cakewalk. They didn't want to keep investing in Cakewalk to keep it competitive with the other dolls, like Ableton Live, Reaper. Studio One was blowing up fast. Studio One and surpassed, and a lot of users there. A lot of Pro Tool users have jumped on the Studio One. All these other dolls, and then if you're a Mac user, most Mac users jump on Logic Pro. Then there's a lot of other ones, GarageBand and so forth. But Cakewalk, it took BandLab to keep Cakewalk. So but they made it free. But Cakewalk has some issues. I was messing with Cakewalk today, and I did the latest update, and now my audio when I record, I was doing some MIDI tracks with the modal drums, and when I record the audio was going way faster than the track speed that I had it set at 96 beats per minute, right? BPM. And it's like, what in the world is this doing? So now I got to go back and see what in the world is going on with Cakewalk. I don't know if it wasn't doing that before I did the update. And I don't know if they could be sabotaging the free version so you go, because they're gone back to paying. So who knows? I'm throwing some conspiracy theories out there. Okay. I done missed some more comments. Oh, see, Teenage Engineering, for example, 1 to 2K for a tiny MIDI controller with a sampler and array. Okay. Let me go to more using a 500 series. These channels sound like Crayborn audio. Yeah, it could be. Like I said, I don't know. That's a lot of preamps per channel, but like I said, it depends on what the console. It could be just a little 12-channel console, could be 24s. Kernstein said Persona Eureka was a great strip. They replaced it with a less feature-rich studio channel, which is going on with what is going on with Personas. Okay, I have 2 of the Persona studio channels that you speak of. I made a video on why do Personas continue to discontinue great gear. The best preamps I still say to this day that Personas made was the ADL 600 and 700. That preamp was equivalent to like my Avalons and any of the top-notch pro-level preamp out there. And I thought the Eureka was the same. I think Fender bought Personas. I think the problem with Personas, they were doing what Behringer was doing, making too much. I hate to say crap, but they're making too much crap. It's kind of like, I'll go to Avalon. Avalon specializes in preamps, compressors, and stuff like that. The number one seller is their 737. I have 2 of them. Then they make the regular, just the pre's itself and not a channel script. Awesome EQ, the 2055. Then they make the 2044. It's like an opto compressor, 2-channel opto compressor. They stay focused on just making a few key components. And I think that's the problem when you start getting, Personas, not only they're making software like Studio One, which is great software. You got this audio interface, they're making that audio interface, and they're making this audio interface, they're making live mixers, they're making speakers, they're making microphones, it's like, and so because of that, because they're making so much stuff, and then they look at their profit and loss, we're not making enough on these live, or they have to update it, or now everything's gone to to Thunderbolt, or we're going to USB, so we're going to discontinue these live mixers. And you got people that invest in Personas live mixers. Let's say now I got to get rid of this Personas live to get the new Personas live because they updated their live. Now this one I have, and that thing was $3,000-$4,000 or whatever. Now I got to dump it. I called it tech support. I can't even get tech support for it. That's the problem with Persona. I think Personas should have focused. Studio One should be. It's a good software. You think about $199 for Studio One as an example. You get 1 million people buy Studio One for $199. That's $200 million. You start making too many products. Behringer, how they got looked at is they sold cheap gear, billions of it. So all that money he made, he capitalized. It's like monopolized by buying TC Electronics and Midas and companies like that. And that's how he's able to do it. But not everyone can do what Behringer is doing. And Behringer really did well by selling 1 million of those X32 consoles. That was their number one seller. That's what brought Behringer from the crap market to a respectable market, is that X32. And they were smart enough to acquire Midas. Say, let's don't use our preamps. We tried that Zenith preamps and those other preamps. Let's just put the Midas preamps in here, and that helped them a lot too. That's why the X32 sounds a lot better. They're using Midas. They're the low-end Midas preamps. You need to get the Midas M32 because they have the better faders and the better preamps in it. But they're still, it's like with the Behringer interfaces and everything else. They got at least Midas preamps in them. They're the low end, but they sound better than any other preamps that Behringer used to make. Anyhow, let me get off Behringer. Let me see what else. So let me go back to, I done missed quite a few. Let's see on let's see. Okay, commercial studios commercial studios should be replaced with the more expensive studio. See, Warm Audio Facility is an amazing example of a no budget commercial studio. Yeah. I mean, Bryce, of all the clone companies, because there's more than just Bryce. There's Heritage Audio, there's Stam Audio, and the list just goes on. There's a lot of them. Then there was some do-it-yourself, but Warm Audio, he monopolized that market as a replica clone company. When he came out with the Warm Audio, the 76 and the microphones, I got some of their 47 juniors in the Warm Audio 47s in the cabinet over there. I mean, he was smart. His marketing strategy was smart. He's probably the most successful clone company out there. And his warehouse and his studio, because of that, it allowed him to be where he's at. And he's in Austin, Texas. So yeah, I saw that facility too, and I'm like, yeah. And I guarantee his studio, because it can compete, because really the listener don't care. The listener, I mean the audience, when you're making music, they don't care if it's a Warm Audio 76 or a UA 76. They can't tell the difference. Most people don't have trained ears to tell the difference. They can tell if something sounds good versus something sounds amateur, but that's as far as it goes. Let me go to the next one. Let me see. Let me see what else. Kevin says he says he uses like 8 tracks total. I was just warning. Oh, okay. We're talking about the guy earlier with his console. Yeah. So I can see, yeah, that's doable if you have 8 channels. Yeah, I can see how you can get away with 8 500 series on those channels. I can see that. But I can see he probably, if he's using the 8 channels, whatever, the preamps probably were not, they probably were okay. So he probably wanted some better sounding preamps. So it just depends. Like I said, without not seeing it's hard to say without seeing what he has. Let me see else. Let me see. Oh, okay, man. Okay, let me see. Go to. Ghost User says gas is very real. I would love to play around on an old Prophet. Or an ARP 2600 or an old Moog or an Oberheim, those classic boards like that. Something to be said for quality gear, but plugins can make any sound nowadays. Still, hardware is very appealing. It's kind of like I got quite a few Fender Rhodes plug-in emulations. I got a lot of plug-in. I got some really good sounding Fender Rhodes plugins, and you can do all kinds of stuff, whatever type of effect, pedals, and all you want, and they sound great. But it's also at the same time, it's almost like having a real vintage Fender Rhodes, like playing one over using my MIDI controller to play one. It's almost like, can you imagine? Let's say you're a guitar player, and let's say you had a USB guitar. There's no strings on it. There's no pickups. Now it looks like a guitar, and you can move your hand, and it'll make it sound like it's strumming the strings. And you can put your fingers to finger the different, whatever you're, like a G or a C, or whatever, a D chord, whatever chords you're, whatever bar, or you're just doing solos or whatever, right? And it'll make the noise. Then put a real guitar in your hands. you're not going to really want to play. It's going to be like, oh, this is cool. You know, you can, yeah, this is cool. And, you know, just making guitar sounds and yeah, this is cool and all that. But playing a real guitar, that's irreplaceable. You know, it's like me playing a fake sax and then me going down and playing my actual real tenor sax. Playing a real sax, you that's irreplaceable. I would never. It's like me trying to play a Hammond B on my keys or my keyboards or my controllers in church, and actually I play a real Hammond B3 with a real Leslie. I'm not, no, you gotta have, you know, I just not, no, I'm gonna use the real thing. Let me see. I missed some more comments because let me see. Oh, he's talking. Okay, let me see. Oh, Jason, when you talk crap about Behringer, too much crap is exactly how to describe them. Now, here's the thing with Behringer. I made a video. Is Behringer any good? I have some Behringer products, and believe it or not, I'm not going to say everything Behringer made. Like this controller, this is a phenomenal controller. I have zero problems with this controller, and it works flawlessly. I have some compressors. I even did a video with a Behringer compressor in one of my videos. They're actually, and I just think Behringer did crap. Some of that stuff is actually better. And I have a Behringer Ultra Voice preamp channel script, and I was like, this thing's. I met a guy runs a commercial studio, had that same channel script in his commercial studio, and he used it for guitars. And I would listen to it. Of course, he had an API console, and I would listen. I said, "Man, the guitars sound good. What compressor what'd you use?" That Behringer Ultra Voice. I said, "No freaking way, no freaking way." He said, "Oh yeah." He showed me exactly how to dial it in. So you'll be surprised on some of Behringer's products. So that's all I'm going to go about Behringer. I don't get paid by Behringer. I'm just saying that. So let me see. Oh, Jason, I'm waiting for that PreSonus MIDI keyboard. Like I said, I don't know. I like my M Audio, my Behringer controller. I have Arturia Keylab. I use this one. I also have, this is the Essentials. I have the Essentials, but I also have two Mark II. One's a 49 and one's a 61. I like my Arturia Keylab well, but this is my favorite MIDI controller. It's my M Audio Control 49. This is my favorite MIDI controller right here. So we go back to let me see. A manager. I won't call Behringer trash. I don't use their products, but I know successful people who do. Like I said, you'll be surprised. So I've seen quite a few commercial studios that have had used their gates. I've seen them where they've used their headphone. I got some Behringer stuff. So they've sold over, I believe, 1.5 million X32 consoles. So Behringer is doing something right. I'm not, like I said, I think when they first got started, they had some issues, but I'm gonna tell you, like I said before, I've did something like my mixing console downstairs, a Behringer MX8000, and I've already, if you go back and I've made a video come out. I did a video called "What You Won't Do for Love," featuring Behringer gear. I was being very, very sarcastic, and everyone that watched that video was like, "That's from your Behringer console?" Yep. So go back and watch the video and listen to the quality of that, and that should rethink your thinking about Behringer products. I'm moving on. Jacob said Warm Audio may be clones, but damn, they're very, very good. Once again, with Warm Audio, just like any other clones, I got Lindell Audio on mine, and I got Clark Technic. When all this stuff is being done in a mix, the listener cannot tell. So it becomes, now you start going back before, so I'll get off that subject because I'll be on that horse for another hour or so. I've said it time and time again. And here's the thing, and I'll say it because Jason, he's talking to man about, I call Behringer trash, having bought their products and having them fail when they shouldn't, then switch to Focusrite and never look back. Here's the thing that I've always said about Behringer. I've never had a problem with Behringer as far, especially a lot of the stuff. I don't expect their stuff to be Neve or API level. I've always said this has usually been the problem with Behringer stuff. It's not necessarily the sound that I had a problem with Behringer stuff. I've always had a problem with Behringer stuff being build quality, buttons breaking, stuff, scratchy pods. But then again, as far as scratchy pods, I've seen soundtracks and consoles and SSL consoles and even personas. I was watching a video where, forget his name, he's a well-famous mixing engineer, was doing a session, and he was sitting there turning out because they're not on a pull tech. Those things go for 8,000. So noisy pots can be from the most expensive to the whatever, but a lot of that just comes from, you got to be careful, making sure people aren't drinks around your stuff, smoke. You make sure you're smoke-free, clean environment to protect, dust gets in this stuff. So that can cause problems, even on the most expensive gear. So really, it just really be like these my speakers, those are Behringer Truths. I have zero issues with those speakers. They're great sounding monitors. Okay, let me move on. So, well, Native Instruments may disagree with you regarding irreplaceable. Let me see. Okay, because their session guitars products are insane. So okay, let me move on. I got comments coming. I can't read them fast enough. There's let me see. Ghost user says it's definitely because we are tactile creatures. I play guitar, and nothing would beat the real thing. Almost important to say our hearing as is an analog system. The ears and it's kind of like, do you want a virtual woman or do you want the real woman? It is what it is. Currency, I would buy a DBX 286 over Warm Audio 73. I find the Warm Audio 73 sounds muddy. And like I said, there are people that have there are people that have absolutely no issues. They love the Warm Audio 73. Joe Correll uses the Warm Audio 73 in his studio. So it's really, there's a lot of factors. I'm not saying that, the 286 is not a bad preamp channel script. DBX, especially the 5 series, I think the 586, or they made some pretty high-end, DBX made some pretty high-end preamps, but I think it's all described because sometimes you can have like the Warm Audio 73 preamp, but also it's kind of like it's a lot of factors. The console you're using, maybe it could be the audio interface, it could be other factors, it could be the studio monitors. A lot of people love the Yamaha NS10s. A lot of people love them. I've never liked Yamaha NS10s. I've just never liked them. That's just me. So I think it's preference. Let me read some more comments. Okay, let me read a few more because I'm gonna have to get off here. I was originally talking about audio engineering school, but these comments, they always shift the subject, that's a good thing. And Andre said Behringer help a lot of people get right. I mean, sometimes even having cheap gear to work on can be it's discrepancy. Some people say don't start on cheap gear; you're just gonna mess your ears up. I disagree with that, but I think a lot of times, sometimes there are a lot of people that just don't know how to use the gear right. It depends. Personas make so many products that I wouldn't be surprised if they release a keyboard. once again, I think it's kind of like, can you imagine SSL making as many products as, SSL mainly are making, they dabble with controllers, they got the UF8 and the UF1 and all that, and they got, they had the SSL nucleus, but their main thing was consoles. They're making large format consoles. Then they went to the 948, the 928, the 900, and the XL desk and all that. Then they're making channel strips, or whatever the case. But they're not making keyboards, like actual physical, MIDI controllers, or they're not making, sometimes, it's like, I get it, but I think Personas was trying to do what Behringer was doing. And I'm like, it's probably why Behringer didn't get sold. Behringer ended up buying all these companies, and Personas had to sell their business. So, because they made too much stuff. That's just me. And every time once they make something, it's discontinued the next year. But let me see. Go back exactly. Their build quality. That's right. Let me see. I missed it. I missed it. Let's see. Oh, say current. So Man Network says current. Most people don't know how to gain stage at 1073 preamp. They almost distorted too heavy on YouTube. Too heavy on YouTube demos or whatever. It's kind of like, because a lot of times people don't realize. You realize on preamps like that. If you look at the preamp, if you look at the preamp knob, the gain knob, you'll see that one is line for instruments and the other one's like for mic. So you have to be looking at your signal to your source too, and that's the input and the output, because there's two inputs. Sometimes they say you want to give more input to saturate the signal, then you want to do less. You want to adjust your output accordingly. That's in any piece of gear. But if it's and even how you got the EQ set on a 73, how do you got that set? Like try it with the EQ on and then try it with the EQ off. If it cleans up, you're doing something wrong with the EQ. Sometimes I turn engage, but it sounds warmer, but it sound or whatever case, Okay, so but hey, that's like rest my case on good old Behringer. So like some people, like I said, some people are just not gonna like Behringer. And that's perfectly just like I'll use one example with Behringer. I'll use this example. Al Schmidt did not like SSL consoles at all. He said in an interview, he said, I won't even, if you have an SSL console, I won't even go there. Al Schmidt liked Neve. Now, I was thinking to myself, Al, you don't like SSL consoles, but Bob Clearmountain uses an SSL. How many award-winning Grammys they have? Chrysler Algae won using an SSL. Larrabee Studios have SSLs. Record Plant has SSLs. The list goes on how many SSL consoles. So, it ain't like their mixes or the recordings are sounding bad using an SSL. It can't be the SSL. So why don't you like an SSL? I'm like, that's silly to me. So, but he did not like SSLs. He said, I won't touch them. If it's, and there are people that have Neves. They said, no, I don't want an SSL. I want a Neve. There's some studio like Air Studio has Neves in their Capitol Studio has Neves in their, So it's all preference. That's what I'm trying to say. Let me see who else. Let me see. He's just Jay just being funny because he just don't like SSL. So I'm not gonna say too much on that. I don't like Behringer, but that's just the way it is. Some people just don't like, Behringer. I'm not going to touch that no more. Kevin Sullivan said, what are the best affordable studio headphones for mixing? Once again, that's debatable too. Like me, I don't really mix on headphones. I don't like mixing on headphones. I like recording with headphones. I don't mix with headphones. I like to reference. I like to hear my stereo image. So I listen through my monitors. But if you want some affordable headphones there's some decent ones. These are Sennheisers or Sennheiser HD 201s. You can start with these. I don't think I think these are $79 or $89 a piece. They're not very expensive headphones, and I get an accurate picture with them when I'm listening. So start with Sennheisers, but there are probably 200 headphone companies out there. I mean, the list is long. Let me see what else, man. We're just reiterating what I'm just saying. Headphones are extremely subjective. He said I would look at Beyerdynamic because they're good for the price. Yeah, that's another one. I forgot about Beyerdynamic. They are really good too. So you got Sennheiser, Beyerdynamic. There's a lot of them. I can't just think of any name right now. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier about the, and don't get me started on the Big Six. I already don't, the SSL 6,000, 4,000, 9,000. Yeah, the Nucleus, nice control, AWS, overly priced, XL, best bang for the buck because you can put any 500 series, but their Big Six, that's a joke. That's a joke. I'm not paying $3,000 for a console that has fixed EQs. I can get a used AMEC Big Langley 40 channel used on Reverb for $40,000 with mic pre's on Dana, all 40 channels for $3,000 than to buy a Big Six. That's a joke. You're not gonna make, just because it got SSL name stamped on it, for six, no. That's why I was with the Origin. I'm like, yeah, the Origin is a newer console, $50,000. They went up to $60,000 and they dropped down to $40,000 for the SSL Origin. When I'm looking at that, it's not automation, there's no dynamics, whatever. But I saw a used SSL that, it's a little, SSLs are big. For like $25,000 for an SSL 6000 G on Vintage King for $25,000. I'm spending $25,000 and spending another $20,000 get a commission. Then I spend the $60,000 on Origin. That's just me. But yeah, don't get me started on that Big Six. That people that they sucker people on that one. Okay. Let me see what else. Let me see. So Jay said, here's an important question. How many of you all have your studio gear insured? Do you need and want that? Yes, I hope so. Well, depends on, depends on what you got. But yeah, like me, my stuff was definitely insured. Let me see. Andre says, do you think the Behringer 369 compressor would have the same response if it looked different and not focused on being a clone to a Neve, but have the same components? But the thing is, the 369 does have the same components. They had people from Neve work the design. Behringer did that exclusively. The thing is, the hard sell for the Behringer 369 is the name on it. Even though what I think Behringer finally did was they got smart and did what like all the other clone companies. They're just being late to the game, not just only with their 369, but that 1073. They waited too long because Behringer finally realized the clone company business is skyrocketed, not just with Warm Audio, Stam Audio, Heritage Audio, Vintech, all these clone companies, even BAE. And I don't care how many people defend BAE is a clone company. It's a Neve wannabe, just like the rest of them. Because somebody like, well, BAE, would stand for British Audio Engineer, right? It's a clone company. That's exactly what it is, a clone company. And you're going to tell me I'm going to spend $3,000 on a BAE 73 when I can go get a Neve 1073. I'm going to get the Neve 1073 over the BAE. I don't care how many people try to endorse it. There's a hidden agenda behind the people that are endorsing BAE, period. So let me read a few more because I'm going to have to get off. This is always fun. So do you, let me see. Here's the beauty, and I'll talk one more thing about that 369 from the Behringer. Going for what, $400 or $500? Whatever they're $499, whatever they're charging. So far, people that have tested it have, that listened to it have no problems with that 369. And I'm gonna say right this: every Behringer gear that I got in my studio, including my Behringer MX 8000, that console is going on 30 years old, and it works flawlessly. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah, if you can afford a Neve 33609, by all means. But most people don't have Neve 33609 money. If the Behringer 369 is going to get you pretty much the same results for $499, the thing is, I would rather spend $499 on a Behringer, even if let's say it breaks in the future. I don't feel as bad than when I see people that have Neves or SSLs that break and they spend 10 times the money. And there's we got maintenance crews that can fix it. Most people don't have a maintenance crew that can fix gear, especially doing this in their homes. And I'll leave it at that. So, and he's being funny again. Can I get a new Persona Studio Live 2432 for that price? If you like live, I don't particularly big on the Personas Live, but Personas Live, if you're going to spend Personas Live money, I'd rather just go ahead and get the Midas M32. That's just me. So, okay, let's see. Man Networks is under, of course, now being a Neve clone is an entire draw. I don't like Behringer because it lacks headroom, but other people may like it. Let's see. Like I said, Man Network doesn't like Behringer either. And I can say that products isn't for everyone. It's kind of like my Behringer Audio Face or my Antelope Orion, right? I got an Antelope Orion in my rack. 100%. That's why I have an Antelope Orion. So if that makes sense, I'll leave it at that. But there's, I do have some Behringer interfaces. I have their Euphoria. But no, I'm using my Antelope. I even have Marketer Unicorn. I have some Marketer Unicorns down here, and I got some Marketer Unicorn downstairs, the Motus. Yes. Do I think they're better interfaces? Yes. Let me see. Well, so a few more. Bobby Forefront. What up, hey, what's going on, Bobby? You kind of coming in late. I'm about to end it because I've been on here for going on an hour and a half. I wish you came a little earlier. I started at 8, had a few internet issues. Internet went down. Been on here for an hour and a half, but yeah. Oh, we're live in Jamaica. Insurance here is an absolute scam. I've never been to Jamaica, but here's the one thing about when you start getting, it's bad enough. Every country, there's going to be some corruption with the government somewhere. And a lot of companies like that. But if you think about it, you said insurance here is an absolute scam. When you think about it, it's like if you are a light company and you're the only light company in the city, and you have no competition, either you can charge what you want for those lights, or people just won't have lights. It's like some people don't have a choice. That's how they can get away with that. Now, I guarantee if those insurance companies there was a lot of competition, it wouldn't be a lot of scam because people would go from insurance company to insurance company. But like I said, I'm just speculating here on that. My friend said, big fan of your music. Oh, thanks. There's people that want me to. There are people that want me to do more and more. there are more and more people that want me to do more of my music. So I might start playing some more of my music to hear. I got so much of it. A lot of people, I'm always doing these talking things people never really get to hear. Like, I'll give you a play. If you go to Reverb Nation, I think it's I put in a UND Music Productions under Reverb Nation. I have to remember if that's the case. I did some remixes with a Jason Derulo track, and I also did a Mariah Carey remix track on Reverb Nation. I might have to post some links so y'all can go listen to it. I'll have to remember so y'all can start hearing. I got stuff on SoundCloud and Reverb Nation on some other stuff that I've done. I've got loads of it. Plus the album that we did back in the 90s was put out. It actually was on the radio. I'll have to talk about that in another video about the music industry experience that I was in on a different video. But we did a group called A Different Taste, and our music was on the radio. So I got to experience what it's like to hear your music. You know, I got to hear the music that I did. You know, of course, I co-wrote with other producers and all that. But I, got to hear what it sounded like, to hear the tracks that I did with a group on the radio. That was, that's back in the 90s. That's an awesome feeling to hear your stuff on the radio. That's like a irreplaceable experience. Someone says, Jack Bauer said the SSL Big 6 for $2,300 is a decent deal to me. It's, to me, here's the thing, and I'll go back to the Big 6 when I said people got scammed. They initially came out for $3,000. And they had eventually probably end up dropping the price. I said for maybe $1,900, $1,800, okay. That's a better, but not for $3,000. Because you're only getting a few mic pre's. You're only, it's basically a 12-channel mixer. 4 mono, 4 stereo. And the EQs are fixed. For a mixer for $3,000, you think about this, for example. For $3,000, $29.99 the Personas Live was like $29.99. And even in there, you can go in there, 32 channels. You got compressors, gates, 4-band EQs. You can load in a lot of Personas plugins to get different compressors, EQs, reverbs, the channel count. It can be used as a DAW control. I mean, it's just like $3,000 for only four mic pre's. Or I can buy like a digital mixer, like a Midas M32 or Lisa's QU32 or Yamaha TF, whatever the case, and get a lot more for my money for the same amount of money, is what I was saying. There's nothing wrong with the SSL Big 6 as far as the quality of it. It was the price. That's the issue that I had with it. It's overpriced. But if they're dropping it down, $2,300, $2,019, or whatever the case, yes, then okay, because you are getting an SSL. But I'm like this. I just want more for my money. I don't want to give you something you don't give me hardly anything. It's kind of like with that Neve. I think it's the Neve 8024 or something like that. It's only got 2 mic pre's. It's like, I don't know if it's 24 or 32 channels, 2 mic pre's, no EQ, nothing else. Just a bare. It's like a semi mixer, and they wanted $20,000 or $30,000 for this thing simply because it's a Neve. No, I'm not doing that. 20 or 30, I think it was $20,000 or $30,000 for that 8024 Neve. And I seen a used Neve VR 32 channel Neve VR console with dynamics and EQs, a big console like this. I'm spending $30,000 on a Neve VR for $30,000 over that other Neve 8024. No, I'm not. You're not going to spend $30,000 and only give me 2 mic pre's. No, and no EQ. I ain't having it. No. So okay. Let me see. Kim said, I have the SSL Original 6. The 12-channel mixer, I think, sounds good with the G bus is nice. But you're right. The worst part is the EQ and the G bus is fixed as well. Like I said, I'm not. Let me go back to this SSL 6. I was not bashing SSL 6. Anything like that, there's a mixer, especially a mixer like that, is a great idea. I was bashing the audacity to charge for the price. It's like an arrogance to it. I'm going to give you a few options, but because I put my name on it, I don't care if it's SSL, it could be Neve, it could be API or whatever. I'm not spending that kind of money. You're only going to give me 12K, 2500 and 100 hertz fixed. No, I'm not. You can't, I have no control. I can't, you got to be able to sweep the mids. That's just the reason why almost all consoles like this, whether the high or low, are fixed, but the mids are always sweepable. You got to fix. You can't. 2500 is not the be all frequency. Sometimes you need to cut 2K. You can't cut 2K because it doesn't give you the option to cut 2K or boost 2K or move to sweep it on a mid high or mid low. That's why, at least if I bought a Midas or a digital mixer or another mixer or an AMEC, I saw an AMEC Big Langley was like 2900 on reverb, 40 channels, 40 mic pre's, and with the ability to be with the ability to have a computer for automation for 2900. You might have a few channels, but still, even if I had out of 40 channels, 32 channels are working, I got 32 mic pre's. And AMEC is Neve design preamp because he designed Rupert Neve built AMECs after he left Focusrite. So you're getting the same ISA 110 quality preamps and AMECs like you would in the Neve Focusrite consoles, like when he had Neve's own company. That's where you spend your money. I'm not saying, if it was, $1,200, $1,500, whatever, if it was half, okay, I can somewhat justify buying an SSL, but not for $3,000. Too many other options out there with too many, $3,000. My Antelope Orion was $3,200. That's where my $3,200 on my Antelope Orion auto interface. That's where my money's going. That's just me. We might not agree on it, but that's just me. Man says, I don't dislike Behringer. I just own all the originals, so I don't have no need for them. Yeah, it's like I said, I don't have every Behringer product. I have some Behringer products, and I've made a video. I don't think everything they make is good either, but there's a lot of stuff they make is actually really good. So it depends on what Behringer products you buy. So let me see. He said, "Would I clarify what I mean by insurance is a scam? Most times they don't cover you for what you're paying. That ain't just the insurance companies in Jamaica. That's 90% of all insurance companies, period. This is, they justify it. It's this thing called depreciation. So it's kind of like if you got insurance on your TV, you could have spent $2,000, but they're always going to depreciate it. And then there's always what you call what do you call that when you got to pay the deductible? So basically, your TV, it's 3 years old. Well, everyone knows electronics have the worst resale market because they gotten 3 or 4 new editions within 3 years. So it's only worth a fourth of what it's not, and then you got a deductible. So you just basically $3,000 big screen TV may only be worth $250 in 3 years. So it's kind of like. That's the scam of the insurance. And that works on cars, everything. The depreciation and the deductible is what kills people. That's the insurance. That's the scam of it. Let me see. Read it. Let me go back. Let me see. Jake said, after that fifth track, hear my music on the radio doesn't give me any feeling I became numb. Yeah, I mean, it's the first time you get to hear your stuff on the radio. And then, of course, the radio was big. And, we're talking 30 years ago. Now it's kind of like I can put my stuff on SoundCloud and hear my stuff. It's my stuff. So it doesn't have the wow factor. It's like the radio doesn't have the wow factor. Music TV or videos don't have the wow factor But you got to remember, look at the time frame at that time. So, and man said, I still get excited to hear my tracks on the radio. Yeah, and like I said, I really don't, it's all personal how you feel about, I actually get more excited when I get response from people. If I put some music out there and people give me feedback, I'm more excited about that, but it is, the radio is a nostalgic thing, so that's a different video. Let me go back to Jay's Persona Studio Live 32SX new is like 26. I don't think it is. I think it's 3. A Persona's Live 32SX. I might be wrong. I think the SS is the smaller one. The S is the larger one. So you might be right. Maybe the S, the 32S, may be in the 3s. So, like I said, I'm not a big. I like the Behringer and the X32 and the Midas 32 over the Personas. I know my church has one, and I don't like it. So. I would rather go with an Allen and Heath QU or the Yamaha TF. And actually give me the D Live, but that's way more pricier. Andre says gear is good, but nothing beats great musician work. I mean, that's the whole key to the whole thing. The whole thing out of all of it is it's about the musician and the artist out of all of it. So that's really what it boils down to. So, all right. Well, it's going on an hour and 40 minutes. I really do appreciate everyone that tuned in. I'm going to cut it off. Because these can go long, and I really do. I love interacting with everyone on this chat room. I really appreciate all the supporters and subscribers and people that watch the channel. Like I said, my goal is to do this every Sunday. I really do. I appreciate everyone. I love how we can agree to disagree as well. It's fun. This is fun. So definitely enjoy all of y'all, from everybody that came through from Man Network, Jay, Bobby, Kern, Kevin. The list just goes on and on. Let me scroll up, make sure I miss some other people. Ghost User. It just goes on and on and on. It just, everyone that tunes in, I really appreciate it. So we're going to see y'all next. I'll be here next week. And hope to see y'all next week. And we'll keep the conversation going. But one thing I want to do before I end it, last thing I want to do is I'm probably going to start doing video podcasts. We can all zoom in and actually see each other. That's the next goal. So we can actually, so that way, just not seeing my mug, we can all look and talk to each other and see each other. That's the goal that I want to set up. So that's coming soon, to set up the Zoom so we can do that. And I think that would be even better, because that way we can all chime in and instead of just, writing chats. So that's coming. But other than that, I'll join you in Zoom. Yeah, I appreciate it. But like I said, I'm gonna cut it off. This chats can get long. This live stream can get long. But I appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.